sometimes the only way to survive a total collapse, whether that's, a failing business, a toxic relationship, or just a mindset that doesn't serve you anymore, is to literally stop trying to fix it.
Yeah.
You just have to let the dead weight fall apart so you can save the one seed of your future.
Yeah, it completely goes against every survival instinct we have.
Yeah.
But, I mean, learning how to dismantle something gracefully is often the only path to actually preserving what matters.
Right. So how do we actually let that dead weight fall apart without completely losing our minds in the process? Because that is our mission for today's deep dive. And really quick, if you are listening and find yourself wanting to make these ideas a daily practice, you can actually follow along with our companion app. It's called You Way Out.
You Way Out, yeah.
It's available right now on the Apple App Store, and it actually pairs perfectly with the book The Mind Key to the I Ching, which you can just grab on Amazon Books. They're both fantastic tools for mapping out these exact concepts in your own life.
They really are. I mean, they completely bridge the gap between ancient philosophy and the very modern, everyday problems you face.
And that gap is exactly what we are exploring right now. We're looking at a framework for handling decline drawn from the I Ching, specifically this concept known as bow, which translates roughly to stripping or peeling off.
Peeling away the layers.
Yeah. And for anyone dealing with a downward spiral, this is basically a masterclass in resisting the urge to panic fix a broken situation. But I want to make sure we ground this properly right out of the gate. When I hear ancient texts talk about collapse or stripping, my mind immediately goes to the fall of Rome, explosions, massive drama. How does this actually map to a normal Tuesday for someone living in Chicago or London?
Well, most dangerous collapses are rarely cinematic, To really understand this, you have to picture the primary visual the text uses. It's this massive weathered mountain resting on the earth. Over time, the wind and rain are just gently washing the soil away. The foundation is quietly eroding.
So you don't hear a massive crash.
Exactly. You just hear the dust falling.
Okay, so it's not a Hollywood explosion. It's more like a tech startup whose market just slowly evaporates over 12 months because consumer habits change.
Right.
Or like a long-term habit that is just quietly draining your health. You don't wake up and find the house on fire. You just eventually realize the house is sinking.
That is the reality of bow. And the framework uses a very specific structure to explain how this happens. It relies on a hexagram, which, is just a stack of 6 horizontal lines.
Right.
And the bottom 3 lines represent your internal world, your personal foundation. The top 3 lines represent your external environment. So as this stripping process moves from the bottom to the top, you actually have to adopt 3 specific mindsets to survive it.
Okay, let's get into those mindsets, because I imagine our default reactions are probably all wrong.
Oh, usually, yes. Absolutely wrong. The first required mindset is that you have to stop pushing against the tide. The framework explicitly warns that any attempt to aggressively expand or launch a new initiative or fight back during this specific phase is just going to backfire.
Man, I can feel the pushback on that already. We are so completely wired for hustle culture. The modern mantra is basically, well, if the project is failing, just sleep in the office. Work 80 hours a week and save it.
But think about the physics of a failing structure. If the structural integrity of your business or your health is already compromised, applying more pressure just accelerates the collapse.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Working 80 hours on a broken foundation just burns through your remaining energy before the real crisis even hits. So you have to accept the necessity of subtraction. We tend to view any loss as a moral failure, but shedding the old is actually a biological imperative.
I see what you're saying. I mean, if a body didn't shed dead skin cells, the accumulation would eventually just suffocate the organism. So subtraction isn't a punishment.
No, it's metabolic.
Which leads us to the third mindset, bottom line defense. The ultimate goal of this stripping phase isn't total destruction. It's targeted preservation.
Targeted preservation.
Yes, you are intentionally allowing the outer edges to fall away so you can protect the core fire.
Okay, so let's walk through how this actually plays out in real time, because you mentioned the hexagram is divided into 2 halves, and it starts at the bottom, the internal world.
Right, the first 3 stages happen internally. And the text uses this brilliant, very domestic metaphor for this, a bed.
A bed.
Yeah, a bed represents your foundation, your security, the place you rest. Stage 1 begins when the stripping reaches the legs of the bed. It's invisible weathering.
The legs of the bed. So the damage is happening completely underneath you, totally out of sight.
Exactly. And the physical damage at this point is actually tiny. Like a little rot in the bed leg won't immediately collapse the entire structure. The real danger here is psychological.
Because you can't see it, because you ignore it. It's the human tendency to completely ignore small signs of decay because the upper structure still feels comfortable. You're lying in the bed, it feels stable, so you just brush off the warning signs. The framework specifically warns against having contempt for small problems.
I'm trying to map that to everyday life, and it sounds a lot like ignoring the check engine light on your dashboard.
Oh, that's a perfect example.
Right.
Yeah.
The car's still driving, the AC is blowing cold, you're on your way to work. Why ruin your morning by going to a mechanic?
And that is the exact trap.
Or even something like lifestyle creep. You know, you have all these random $10 subscription services slowly bleeding your bank account. It doesn't hurt today, so you don't cancel them, but you are ignoring the weathering of your financial foundation.
And because you ignore that check engine light, the decay continues upward. The rot moves from the legs into the connection points, which brings us to stage 2, the bed frame itself.
Okay, so now the structural break is happening.
Yes. The cracks are undeniable now. You can literally feel the bed sagging. You know the relationship is deeply broken or the business model is failing. But the psychological state at this stage is profound paralysis.
Paralysis.
Yeah. You watch the frame bend, but you lack the energy to intervene.
That is such a heavy feeling. But I mean, why do we do that? If the evidence is literally bowing the ceiling inward, right above my head, shouldn't my instinct be to jump up and fix it? Why do we freeze?
It comes down to energy allocation. Deep down, your intuition knows that superficial fixes just won't work anymore. Tape won't hold a snapped bed frame together.
Right.
To actually fix a foundational structural failure requires an immense amount of energy you likely don't have because the decaying situation has been slowly draining you for months.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of acting, this creeping resignation sets in. You sit on the sinking ship and just watch the water rise, basically hoping a miracle happens.
It's basically waiting to be rescued because you're just too exhausted to swim.
Exactly. But you can't stay on a sinking ship forever. Eventually, the water reaches you, which forces you into stage 3.
Okay, what happens in stage 3?
This is the turning point of the entire lower half of the hexagram. The framework calls this active stripping. Up until now, the decline has been happening to you. You ignored the legs, you watched the frame bend. But in stage 3, you must willingly participate in the dismantling.
Active stripping. So, you have to start tearing it down yourself.
Yes, and what is really remarkable about the ancient text here is that out of all the stages of decline, this is the only one where the commentary explicitly promises no disaster.
Wait, hold on. Telling someone they have to actively kill a project they've poured like 5 years and half their savings into and calling that no disaster? I mean, most people listening would say that feels exactly like a massive disaster.
Oh, it feels like a disaster to your ego, without a doubt.
Yeah.
You are admitting defeat on a certain level, but structurally, it is salvation.
How so?
Think of it like a medical amputation. Choosing to lose a limb is incredibly traumatic. But by making the active choice to cut it off yourself, you stop the infection from reaching your heart.
Oh, I see. You're basically overcoming the sunk cost fallacy.
Yes. The true disaster isn't losing the project. The true disaster is being dragged down to the bottom of the ocean because you refuse to let go of the anchor. Active stripping guarantees that you don't go down with the ship. You control the narrative of the ending.
It's kind of the difference between having the bank foreclose on your house with zero warning versus looking at your spreadsheet, accepting you just can't afford the mortgage, and proactively selling the house to downsize.
Exactly.
One is an ambush that completely ruins your credit. The other is painful, sure, but it's a strategic retreat.
That is a perfect modern equivalent. You've stopped trying to save the whole bed. You were just trying to save yourself.
So we've navigated the internal rot. We've done the painful work of actively amputating those sunk costs. But we're only halfway through the hexagram, right? Because at some point, the internal choices end, and the external world gets a vote.
And this is where we cross into the upper trigram. Stage 4. The external bed is now entirely gone. The framework says the stripping has reached the skin.
Reaching the skin. Man, that sounds incredibly exposed.
It is absolute exposure. The buffers are completely gone. The company officially filed for bankruptcy. The divorce is public. The layoffs have been announced. You no longer have an institutional shell protecting you, and you are taking a direct hit from the external environment.
The cold wind is just hitting bare skin.
Exactly.
I think about the 2008 financial crash, Families who felt totally secure behind the buffer of home equity suddenly had that illusion vaporized literally overnight. Or someone walking into work thinking they are this untouchable senior executive, and an hour later they are walking to their car with a cardboard box.
Right.
In that moment of pure exposure, our first instinct is usually just pure panic. We want to scramble and instantly rebuild a wall. We fire off 500 resumes that same afternoon. Is that the right move?
No, and that is such a crucial point. When a storm has just leveled your house, trying to frantically stack bricks while the wind is still howling is just going to get you crushed by your own materials. The instruction here is to lower your center of gravity.
Okay, lower your center of gravity. I love the sound of that. But what does that practically look like on a Tuesday afternoon when you've just been handed that cardboard box?
Practically, it means suspending your reflex to fix the unfixable. Lowering your center of gravity means you just stop the mental spin. You don't immediately jump on LinkedIn and project false positivity.
Yeah, we see that all the time.
Right. You cancel your non-essential commitments. You sit down, you look at your actual bank balance without flinching, and you accept that you're in a temporary state of vulnerability. You let the reality of the cold wind wash over you without trying to mask it.
Because you can't be knocked over if you're already lying flat.
Exactly that. You conserve the tiny bit of energy you have left instead of burning it on denial. And once you have absorbed that reality, you move into stage 5, which offers, honestly, one of the most vivid metaphors in the entire system.
Okay, what is it?
The string of fish.
A string of fish. Okay, you are definitely going to have to walk me through the mechanics of that one. How does a string of dead fish help me handle a career crisis?
Well, picture a fisherman stringing a catch together. The fish are aligned neatly in a row. They aren't thrashing against each other. They are yielding to the string.
Okay.
In the context of a structural collapse, this represents organizing the remnants of a situation so that the transition is smooth. It's about orderly retreat and gracefully yielding power.
Ah, so the focus is really on the lack of thrashing. Because if fish are just thrashing around on a boat, they damage themselves, they create chaos.
Right. Think about a failing company where the founding partners start turning on each other. They point fingers, they file lawsuits, and they just thrash around out of panic and ego. And in doing so, they completely destroy whatever assets and goodwill were actually left. They bleed out and attract sharks.
Ah, okay, I see it now. So stringing the fish is like the founder who realizes they are just out of their depth, the market has changed, and they are no longer the right CEO.
Exactly.
So instead of throwing a tantrum and fighting the board, they organize their files, hand over the passwords, ensure their employees are taken care of, and just step down with dignity.
Yes. Or an older generation passing the family business to the younger generation.
Right.
The power is going to shift whether you like it or not.
Right.
Decline is a natural cycle.
Right.
If you fight it, you get torn apart. If you string the fish, you align yourself with the inevitable, you facilitate a smooth transition, you maintain your reputation, and honestly, you might even secure an advisory role for yourself in the new structure because you proved you could handle a collapse maturely.
It's strategic surrender, which honestly takes an unbelievable amount of self-awareness. You have to realize you're no longer the main character in that specific story.
Exactly.
But this brings up a huge question for me. We've talked about the bed legs rotting, the frame snapping, the buffer disappearing, handing over the power. If everything is stripped away, the bed, the skin, the authority, what is the point? Why go through all this pain of consciously letting it fall apart? What are we actually left with?
You are left with the final stage, the very top line of the hexagram. The framework calls it the uneaten large fruit.
The uneaten large fruit.
The process of decline is ravenous, but it has a natural limit. It devours everything that is redundant. It eats the illusions, the bad investments, the inflated job titles, the ego. But the stripping process physically stops at this one indestructible seed.
So the collapse isn't infinite, it hits bedrock.
It cannot consume core truth. If you look at a bankrupt company, all the corner offices and the massive marketing budgets, those are stripped away. But what survives? Usually it's one brilliant piece of patented technology or a core operating procedure that really worked.
What about for an individual?
In a personal crisis, you might lose your professional identity, your status, your daily routine. But the decline cannot strip away your actual resilience or a hard-earned skill you possess. That is your uneaten fruit.
Man, that completely flips the script on how we view a crisis. We usually panic because we confuse our bed frame, our job title, our salary, our social circle, with our actual self. We think if the frame breaks, we are broken.
You weren't the frame. You were the fruit.
And this is exactly why you emphasize not fighting the stripping process. Because if you are back in stage 2 and you are thrashing around trying to save a rotting bed frame, you might accidentally crush your own seed in the chaos.
Yes, exactly.
You might burn bridges, ruin your health, or compromise your morals just to save a failing project. But by letting the dead wood fall, you're building a protective perimeter around the one thing you actually need for the next chapter.
You are guarding the blueprint. When winter hits, a healthy tree doesn't exhaust itself trying to keep all its leaves alive. It lets them die. It draws all its essential energy down into the roots. That way, when spring eventually arrives, it has the core vitality to grow a completely new set of leaves.
Wow.
Extreme contraction is what makes the next expansion possible.
That is incredibly powerful. Let's look at the arc of what we just covered because it really is a complete roadmap for survival. We start by confronting the subtle weathering, not ignoring the check engine light or those small cracks in our foundation.
Well,
And then when the frame starts to bend, we push past the paralysis and actively amputate the sunk costs on our own terms. When the external world hits us and the buffer is gone, we don't panic build. We lower our center of gravity.
we yield to the string.
We string the fish in an orderly retreat, yielding control with dignity. And finally, we find ourselves standing in the ruins, holding that single uneaten fruit.
It reframes loss entirely. It tells us that when things are falling apart, they are often just falling into place. The excess is being cleared so the essential can actually survive.
So, as you are listening to this right now, I want you to apply this to your own life. Think about your current reality. If everything you rely on externally, your impressive job title, your daily routines, your current passion projects, even your social status, if all of that was quietly stripped away tomorrow, what is the one uneaten fruit you would have left?
The one thing they can't take.
Exactly. What is the core skill, the unshakable truth, or the fundamental value that no market crash or personal failure could ever take from you? Find out what that seed is, because when the dead weight finally falls apart, that seed is the only thing you truly own.